Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. In today's video, we are taking a look at Blizz's attempt to replicate LVUI within the base game of World of Warcraft. So let's dive in and take a look. Now, we have spoken about this before, when the large Dragonflight roundtable deep dive video was released. Part of that was about the new UI elements. Since that video, we have seen a whole heap of talent trees for classes, we've had information on professions, and my god, endless posts about dragon riding. But the UI changes have been a little more scarce. Now, I get it. You're trying to entice new players, you're trying to get back the ones that you've lost, and maybe UI elements are not the most sexy way to go about it.
Get some help.
You may be sat there thinking, then why, Grim, you simple fool, make this video at all? Well, that's because this has all changed, with Blizzard releasing some new little tidbits of information.
I'm listening.
In the Blizzard Bluepost, they break down the various bits of information in two sections. I think it makes sense if we kind of keep to that same order. So we'll be talking the overall look. Now, this will be similar to our look we did with the deep dive video, with a few new bits sprinkled in. Some new information regarding bags. Finally, we can have combined or separate. To be fair, that is the whole bag section. I kind of just ruined that. That's all the news there is. Next, we have making it your own with a look at edit mode. This is the main part that we're interested in. Then, improved accessibility, which I will say there's a couple of bits I have some issues with, and it is a big indicator of a certain direction they're going in. And finally, the look ahead.
Yo! You about done?
So as you can see, we have a decent amount to be getting on with, so let's get into it. A whole new look. As Blizzard stated themselves, technology has moved on since the birth of WoW in 2004. As with the launch of Dragonflight, the team felt it was time to give it a bit of polish, a little bit of TLC, which no doubt comes with its own dangers, let's be honest about this. Players that don't play with some sort of UI modification add-ons have played with the same style, the same look of UI since, like, forever. It's become iconic, and the danger is you update it, you change the UI, you lose some of that charm. You show almost any gamer, whether they've played WoW or not, a screenshot of WoW, and they'll go, oh, that's World of Warcraft. And part of that is the UI. That's not to say it doesn't need a revamp. I 100% agree with the devs. It does, and it's been long overdue. I would also say the truth is most players are using some sort of UI modification, be it a full pack, like LVUI, or something more simple, like Bartender. And when that happens, it kind of tells the devs, look, the base UI just ain't cutting it. Maybe it's time to do something? Now, some of the things the devs point out is the updated minimap, the new health bars being far more prominent, standing out a little bit more. And on the whole, I will say it does look far more slick, and far more importantly, it looks cleaner, with more viewable space, and that is extremely important. One of the main reasons for moving away from the in-game UI is to optimize the usable space on the screen. We need this area to be as clean as possible. This in the middle is our firebox. Now, why do I call it that? Well, because it's the area that says to you, hey, you are standing or about to stand in fire. It's time to move. You need clear space to be able to see what's going on here. To the point where I know players that won't even show if they say something because potentially the speech bubble will block some incoming ability. And sure, maybe in this space you'll have some critical information, maybe a weak aura telling you if something's going on around you, you need to be aware of it, like the ushers that you need to turn around. But for the most part, you just want it clean and empty. The next part is where probably the biggest failure in WoW's UI comes from. We need this surrounding area to be full, chocked full of information. We need our weak auras, our tell me whens. All of that needs to be in this space. We do not want to be venturing our eyes all the way to the bottom of the screen or all the way to the top. The best we could get in a vanilla UI was the ability to move the health bars, which, okay, is helpful, but not really what we're looking for. Now, Blizzard have taken this on board, so everything now is going to be flexible and can be moved and be shaped as the player requires.
Nice.
And I will say, more importantly, and this may sound silly, but it looks and still feels like WoW. Now, I haven't played the beta myself, or alpha, wherever stage it's at now. I believe it's moved into beta, so I cannot say 100%, but from what I've seen, it does still very much feel World of Warcraft. One of the things I was always a little sad about was when you use a third-party add-on, you do lose that feeling of World of Warcraft. Even down to something as simple as not having the griffins anymore. I know, I 100% know that sounds silly, that sounds stupid, but whenever I go onto PTR and use the default UI, I have this kind of little smile on my face, because it's what I remember from like playing the very first time, and I get a warm feeling. And then I venture out into the world, try and do some meaningful content, and I scream at the UI. And then I download LBUI and say, sorry Blizz.
Fuck.
Little side note here regarding the griffins, Blizzard have actually added wyverns for the Horde, which I think is a nice touch. But now, to the bags. Now, I have a feeling this is kind of a Marmite for a lot of people, or what do I mean by that? Well, you either love the fact the bags are all separate, or you hate it and use something that combines them all together into one. Previously, this was only achievable using add-ons, and as I spoiled in the intro, now Blizzard have allowed players the option to actually combine their bags if they want it within the base game. I am interested in how far this will go, because I use an add-on called Addybags, which basically breaks down what is in your inventory, what's in your bags, into their respective roles. So I have a little area that's for my armor, an area that's for weapons, area consumables, miscellaneous, quest items, and so on. So I can easily find whatever I want. It will be interesting to see if this is something that they allow now in the default, or if it will still be based on just whatever role your individual bag is set to. My only other request would be, please, some sort of sort function in the combined bags. It's so helpful just to be able to, you know, you've been picking things up and your bags are a little bit of a mess. You've got some meat in there. Maybe you've done some dungeons. You've got a new bit of armor. And you're just like, look, I want to hit sort, and it just tidies my bag up for me. I love that. It's a feature that you get in a lot of add-ons that deal with bags, but it's not something that's obviously in Blizzard's base UI. Please add that. Either way, as someone that does sit very much on the combined bags is best side of the fence, this is a very welcome change indeed. Next we have make it your own. Yeah, this is the bread and butter as well as the cherry on top of the cake. This is all of the hard work that Blizzard are doing regarding the UI. This is the main thing, the main event. The ability to fully customize our UI is huge. The fact this is becoming baseline is just great. It hopefully means that more players will be able to dive in and just make a UI that's tailored for them. What's really nice is it's very Blizzard. It's very simple, very straightforward. You get these nice boxes. I mean, if we take a look at the screenshot here of Action Bar 1 being edited, the player doesn't need to find Action Bar 1 in a sub-menu. Start editing it. Then click to go into their edit mode so they can move it about a bit, and then they go back into the menu so they can start changing stuff, and then back into edit mode. It's just nice. It's all there. It's all done on one screen. It's super clean. It's simple, and plus there is the big revert button, revert changes button. If you suddenly are like, oh my god, I messed something up and I've ruined everything, just hit revert button. You're good to start again.
Excellent.
You also have in there a quick keybind mode, which is fantastic. Again, you don't need to exit edit mode and go back into the menus, find your keybind button, and then go into your keybinds. No, again, it's all just there. And then finally, you also have the action bar settings. Now, my guess is, although I don't have hands-on for this, is that this could be something along the lines of where you can edit, so your stealth commands or your druid form commands. So, for instance, when you go into druid form, it will change the bar to suit that, oh, you're now a bear. Or if you're a rogue or you've gone stealth, this is now the bars that are available while you're in stealth. As I said, having all of this accessible while editing that's fantastic. I love LVUI, and the biggest video I have on the channel is a guide to LVUI, but something that's always been a bit of an issue for people is the fact you do need to jump in and out of various screens, various different menus while you're editing, and it can get confusing and it can get overwhelming. With this being, again, all in just one place, you hit edit and then it's all there, is going to be fantastic for players who are looking to maybe edit their UI for the first time. Another nice feature for base UI users will be the ability to change UI profiles whenever your spec is changed. And this is something you can do in like LVUI and others, but it's not something that's overly used very much because, again, you need to go into a menu and you need to set this all up. In base game WoW, if you are in X spec and you edit your UI, that will be remembered. You then change to another spec, whatever your UI is there, it will be remembered. And as you change your specs, it will just jump about and change your UI for you. Great, you don't need to set anything up. Now you can have a UI layout that gives you information that you need for each spec. So let's say if you're healer, you actually want your raid frames to be right there, dead center, sort of bottom of the screen, so you can see everybody's health and you're able to just hover over your cast over macros and just heal to your heart's content. But you don't want that with tanking, it's too much. You're doing M+, you're doing 5-man party content. Okay, so we're going to clear that up. We just want our abilities down there, and then our party frames is going to be up and over to the left-hand side. But as Rhett, I don't really care about any of that. I'm running solo, I'm doing my own thing. For that, the mini-map is going to be the most important thing, and I want that at the bottom of my screen. But that's fine, we can do that as well. This is great, and something I use a lot on classes. Let's say my Chamois, I DPS and I heal on it, or my Monk. It will change between the two layouts that I like. Job done. It's brilliant that this is coming to base UI. Are these changes going to mean the end of add-ons like Bartender and LVUI, etc.? I very much doubt it. But it is great for those that struggle with add-ons. For those that just don't want to currently get into the drama of add-ons with the whole Cursed Forge, the one site to rule them all. Yeah. This just being part of that default experience, especially if you're a new player. If you're somebody coming in, this is kind of what you expect. This is what you want. You want to be able to change and tailor these things to suit you. Especially if you are coming in on a Xbox controller, which we'll get into down below. You need to be able to edit and change these things that make the game accessible to you. Now, people will say, hey, this should have been part of the default experience long ago. Final Fantasy's had the ability to edit this stuff for ages. And I'd say, yeah, okay. But we've had add-ons to do a lot of this. And Blizzard have always used add-on to help fill the gap. Those cool auras you get when you get a proc, Demon Bolt or whatever it may be, that wasn't originally Blizzard. It was an add-on. They took it and incorporated it into the game. Markers on the mini-map for quests. Yep, not Blizzard. So I will say, it's better late than never. Let's just be pleased that we're finally getting these changes now. And the last bit, we're going to be looking at accessibility. Now, these range from, well, yeah, about time to, okay. Now, first up, we have the interact key. Rather than a mouse press when you go up to an NPC to hand in a quest or talk to them or whatever it may be, you can just hit a key on your keyboard and it will fully interact with that character. Simple, as the meerkats would say. Then we have press and hold to cast. Now this isn't to be confused with cast on mouse down, which is where you press the mouse down. As soon as it hits the bottom, the spell cast. No, this will be when you hold your finger down on that button, it's gonna keep casting. Think of the shamans who are bored having to keep pressing chain lightning. Now they can just hold their finger down and press chain lightning until their maelstrom is bursting. Now this I do question a little bit. The reason for that is, how is this going to interact with cast sequence macros? Now for those that don't know, there are macros that you can create, that you can write, that will literally line up a series of spells, and each time you press the button, it will cast in that sequence. This, in essence, can allow players to play WoW with the press of one button. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not shitting on this style of macro, I'm not shitting on people that use them. My issue is we moved away from this because of what it meant for the game. Back in the day, back in Vanilla, you could just have a swifty one-shot macro that cast all your damage in one nice big burst, and we moved away from that for a reason.
Jesus Christ, what did you do to him? One shot, man.
Yes, it's still subject to the GCD, but it's just you holding it down and it's casting and casting and casting and casting. So yeah, that's one that I'm kind of, is a big grey area for me. I'm not sure, as I say, just gonna have to see that in action. But finally, we have the targeting system. Action combat! Yes. What the hell does this even mean? Well, targeting becomes dynamic. Where you look is where you target. Don't panic, it's not you yourself unless you're using one of those eye things. It's where your camera is looking. That's where you're going to target. Okay. Also, as a side note, when you approach mobs, it will actually auto-target for you. It'll just lock onto the nearest target. Okay. Now, I don't think this one's for me, but I'm not against adding new quality of life options for people, and I believe that the people we're talking about here are those that are using controllers. All of these options are very much in line with controller play. Press and hold casting, you're going to hold down your trigger or your X button, and you're casting spells. Interact on button and not mouse move means that you walk up to a person, you hit your A button on your controller, and you're talking to them. Rather than needing to, say, move the stick so that you're now hovering over that person, then you hit a trigger to interact like a mouse button. And finally, the big one is where you're looking, is where you're going to target. This is very much in line with console gaming, and it convinces me that these changes are for those wanting to use a controller. Sure, you can use them without, but I just think the total package lends to that kind of playstyle. Now, maybe because WoW's going to get added to the Xbox Pass, I hope. Maybe because WoW's becoming a console game. Or maybe just because, hey, some people like to use controllers nowadays.
Why?
So to wrap this up, because my throat is getting dry. Yeah, we've been going on for a while now. Blizzard have added a couple of things that they are still going to be looking at before Dragonflight launches, and that is additional edit mode options. Great. Group Manager. Interested. Raid frames. Quest tracker, and even more updates to the art. This is all fantastic stuff, and I can't wait to see what else Blizzard have in store for us. It's one thing to make a great expansion, but it's another to update and modernize the way we interact with that expansion. In 2 years' time, we'll be looking for whatever the next thing is after Dragonflight, but these changes and others like it set the foundation going forward long past Dragonflight. That is why I'm excited to see what else is to come from this. But that is enough from me. Thank you for watching, stay safe, and I will catch you all in the next video. Laters, everyone.